Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolfe Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? Today we're trying Banquet's frozen spaghetti and meatballs dinner, which is spaghetti with meatballs made with chicken, pork, and beef with marinara sauce from scratch. This 10-ounce frozen meal is made in the USA and only costs $1.24. I love the fact that they let you know it's made in the US, but what if it said it was proudly made in another country? Would you still buy it? Just a hypothetical, but let me know in the comments what you would do. Banquet invites you to pull up a chair and enjoy classic made in America comfort food. Like you, Banquet believes in quality and good, honest value, and trust you'll taste it in our spaghetti and meatballs, featuring our delicious made from scratch marinara sauce. Now here's a list of all the ingredients together. And here they are broken down in each main ingredient, starting with the marinara sauce. I noticed there's Worcestershire sauce in the marinara sauce, which seems a little bit odd to me. Do any of you, the people, put the old woos in your marinara sauce? The ingredients in the spaghetti, which seem pretty typical. Finally, the ingredients in the meatballs, and of course, with processed meatballs, you have to have mechanically separated chicken and pork, along with beef, water, and of course the one ingredient you have to have in highly processed formed meat slurry concoctions, the obligatory textured vegetable protein. What would highly processed formed meat slurry concoctions be without TVP? Well, for starters, they probably taste more like meat and not like you're chewing on a kitchen sponge. The whole meal has 320 calories, 14 grams of total fat, 4.5 grams of saturated fat, no trans fat, 40 milligrams of cholesterol, 840 milligrams of sodium, 34 grams of carbohydrates, 5 grams of fiber, 6 grams of sugars, and 16 grams of protein. Now let's get our Banquet spaghetti and meatballs meal out of the box and heat it up. And it actually looks like there's a good amount of food in here. Now you can heat these up in the microwave or the oven. Now because I listened to you, the people, I bought 2 of these meals. One to heat up in the microwave and the other to heat up in the oven. So the first one we're going to heat up in the oven. Just vent the top and then place into a 350 degree oven for 35 minutes. While our Banquet frozen spaghetti and meatballs dinner is in the oven, head on over and follow me on Instagram if you want to see foods I cook and eat and other random things that I do that I don't record, and you might even get a sneak peek at an upcoming video. After 35 minutes in a 350 degree oven, our first spaghetti and meatballs dinner is ready. So now let's give it a good mix. And the first thing I noticed was it looks like a pretty good meal with a decent amount of food. And I also noticed there's 5 big balls, 5 big meaty balls. And you guys know how I feel about my balls. I love them whether they're sauced or not. Now the instructions didn't say to mix halfway through the heating time, which maybe it should have because some of the noodles were a little bit hard and overcooked on top. But once mixed in with the sauce, they were okay. So we went in for a little bite of spaghetti first. And they cut the noodles so small you couldn't really twirl it. So we just scooped them up. And visually, it didn't look too bad. But once I tasted it, I was really surprised. It was much better and fresher tasting than I thought it would be. The noodles were slightly overcooked, but not bad at all. Especially for a frozen meal. Next, I tried a meaty ball. And again, it didn't look too bad. When I went to take a bite, I was expecting to bite into a spongy mess, but I was honestly pleasantly surprised. Not exactly the texture of a homemade meatball, but also not a spongy mess. These frozen formed meat slurry concocted meatballs had a pretty good texture to them, and they also had a very good flavor. So we cut one in half to see what the inside looked like. And it doesn't look bad at all. Maybe not like a homemade meatball, but it still looks pretty good for a frozen meatball. So it was finally time for a bite of spaghetti and meatball. And again, it was pretty good. The overall texture was good of the meatball and the noodles, and the flavor of everything combined with the sauce was very good. It didn't taste like a normal pre-made sauce. So that's the one cooked in the oven. Now let's try one that's been cooked in the microwave. And this one you did have to mix up halfway through the cooking time. And this one heated up in the microwave is definitely saucier than the one heated up in the oven. And again, there's 5 meatballs. And just like the first meal, they're good sized balls. So we gave it a good mix to get everything well combined. And then went in for a bite of the spaghetti. And again, it was too small to twirl, so we just kind of scooped it up. And just like the spaghetti cooked in the oven, this spaghetti was good and the sauce was good. But I actually preferred the one cooked in the oven because it wasn't as saucy and the sauce reduced a little bit, making the flavor that much better. But either way, both of them are pretty good. Next, we went in to try one of the nuked meaty balls. And the texture wasn't as good as the ones cooked in the oven, but that doesn't necessarily mean they were bad. They just weren't as good as the balls cooked in the oven, but still had pretty good flavor. So then we cut one in half, and you can definitely tell it's moister than the ones cooked in the oven, and I don't think the extra moisture did it any favors. But overall, it was still a tasty ball. Finally, it was time for a bite of spaghetti and meatballs together. And again, just like the oven version, it was pretty darn tasty. The only real difference between the two is the microwave version was a little saucier. These two Banquet frozen spaghetti and meatball dinners really surprised me. The amount of food you get for just over $1 is pretty impressive. Other meals that I've had in that price range didn't have a third of the amount of food these have. And then the flavor of these spaghetti and meatball meals was very good. Honestly, I don't think you're going to be able to find a better valued meal with as much food or as much flavor as the Banquet frozen spaghetti and meatball dinners. That only cost $1.24, which is why I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe, and share it with your family and friends, and I'll see you soon.